Wow, ladies and gentlemen, such a dramatic music for today's entrance. And welcome everyone to another episode of Take 5 at 5. And we're already at the 24th episode for today. And as we all know, during this COVID-19 pandemic, a lot of businesses are actually facing a lot of challenges, whereby a lot of, especially in the retail industry, as well as manufacturing, and I think most of the industries are affected. And a lot of businesses are talking about how do we digitalize our business in such cases, in this kind of situation. And today, of course, we'll be talking about how can organizations use technology to actually help them to improve or cope with such a current situation. And when we talk about digitalization, we definitely cannot run away from talking about IT strategy implementation. And one of the things is that a lot of times, a lot of companies have a lot of vision, a lot of ambition to implement a lot of strategy, and yet it's not really followed through. And along the way, a lot of money is spent, but all of them go to waste. Today, we are very happy to have with us a very experienced guest speaker with us, SL Chong. And SL has a lot of experience, 34 years experience in the IT field, and also in the various sector of manufacturing, oil and gas, retail, and also logistics. And SL is definitely going to share with us a lot of insight of how businesses right now can use IT to actually help them cope with the COVID-19 challenges. So welcome, SL. Welcome to the show.
Thanks for inviting me, and very happy and honored to present Take 5 at 5 session.
Yeah. So SL, so in the previous episode that we have on Take 5 at 5, most of it we talk about people, because most of us or most of the people who are watching here are mostly our HR fraternity people, And this is the first time we bring in a guest speaker. They're going to tell us or talk to us about something that are more technical here when we talk about digitalization. But again, as much as it is very technical, or probably some people wouldn't understand the depthness of the topic, it is also something that is very hot right now for businesses to talk about digitalization. Yeah, but when we talk about digitalization and IT strategy, what is the relation between these two things?
I think what you have to look at is, if you do not have an IT strategy that will help you digitalize your business, then of course it's going to be very difficult to cope with the current situation that we're in, where businesses and people could not physically get together. Yeah. Previously the challenge was that if you had misalignment between your business requirements or your business strategy and your IT strategy, you would end up with something like a white elephant, like you said. The systems that were implemented are not really being used, or they're not helping the business achieve their goals or their outreach to a wider public, or even make their processes internally more efficient. So the thing about IT strategy is that a lot of companies may not put a lot of emphasis on it. However, with the current situation, the wake-up call. In other words, in terms of this global pandemic happening, where there have been a lot of restrictions on physical activity, then digitalization and putting an IT strategy in place that will help us meet the requirements of doing business in this kind of scenario becomes very important.
All right. So when it comes to implementing IT strategy, right, I see that a lot of businesses are like, of course, right now, as you mentioned just now, this COVID-19 pandemic, of course, make it very urgent or make it very important for a lot of businesses to do it right now. So a lot of times, probably a lot of businesses know that getting the business to online or to digitalize their business is something that's very important. But a lot of them are also put this plan on hold. Maybe it could be one of the reasons is they don't want to invest in it and things like that. But right now, a lot of people are like jumping into it and rushing into it, right? And I'm sure a lot of people are making a lot of mistakes. Yeah. So what are some of the things that can cause a backlash if we were to actually jump into it like in a rush, in a hurry? Yeah.
Yes, of course. Picking the right system or the right services to help the businesses cope in this kind of time, it can be as basic as how do we get our people to work effectively from remotely from home. It could be as effective or difficult as how do we now sell our products and services through an online medium rather than through a physical medium. How do we tie the end-to-end supply chain together when previously we have been relying on physical work to get this done? So what needs to be done is to consider how the business wants to digitalize, in other words, convert from a physical way of doing activities, work, into a more computer-based way of doing work. And based on that conversion of physical to electronic means, they should look at various platforms and do an evaluation first, not jump into the first system that comes along. And maybe that system could be in A, too simple to meet their needs, or B, doesn't integrate well into their existing back-end system. So for example, let's say we go into marketplace. Let's say now it's very urgent for us to have a marketplace where we can sell products to maybe the consumer or even business to business. What happens if the marketplace that we choose, maybe because it's the cheapest, which is a typical trend in terms of investment, doesn't have very much capability to exchange data with our backend system, right? So what will happen is that when somebody makes a purchase on the marketplace, for example, and the stock is showing as being present and purchasable, when you try and fulfill that purchase, you find, oops, there wasn't any stock anyway, because the systems were not talking properly. And you have to tell the customer, sorry, you have to wait another 2 weeks because our stock is not available. So that is an example of when you rush into getting on the bandwagon without considering, hey, if I go to this marketplace, can this marketplace, for example, exchange data with my backend, my inventory system or my sales system, so that when I place inventory at the web store or the marketplace store, it is the true inventory. And when somebody buys, or maybe several people buy at the same time, I have a mechanism that will allow me to lock out the excess stock, meaning that if I only have 20, somebody buys 10, another buys 11, do I have a system that can communicate back and forth to make sure that that purchase, it doesn't happen? The moment I lock down the 10 units and somebody try and buy 11 units, my backend system will be talking to the marketplace and say, sorry, I don't have enough to give you 11 units. So you can buy 10, but not 11. So these are the kind of things that if you rush into it, you might even frustrate the customer instead of making them happy that you are making your products available online.
Yeah. Well, I think that's a very good example. And it sounds like if people were to rush into it without putting too much thought into it, then technology can be a double-edged sword. Yeah. Yes, you might be reaching out to much more consumers, much more customers, to a larger crowd. But we might also, offend more people when people try to buy your product and they find that after they made the payment, you were not able to fulfill that.
Absolutely.
Yeah. Okay, so for those of you who just joined us, thank you very much for joining us. You're tuning in to the 24th episode of Take 5 at 5. And today we're going to talk about how to use technology to help you to push your business forward in this global COVID-19 pandemic. And with me is SL Chong. And SL Chong is a very experienced IT professional from and have a lot of experience in various sector. One of his manufacturing, oil and gas, retail, and also logistics. So if you have just joined us, please comment below. Let us know that you are tuning in, because if you don't comment below, I can't see. I don't know who is watching. Yeah, so comment below. Say hi to us. Say hi to me. You know, if you want to drop the like, drop some love to us. Yeah, because we need more love during these times. Yeah, and also for those of you who are watching right now, if you and you're going through a transition in your business from the physical store or physical business to, let's say, digital arena, you can also comment below. You know, what are some of the challenges that you are facing right now, or probably you want to ask SL some question on how you can actually improve this transition during this CMCO. Okay, so SL, based on the topic of today's session, you mentioned that there are 3 reasons why IT strategy fails. Probably you want to share with us what are the 3 reasons why IT strategy normally fail. Yeah.
Right. So the main reasons why IT strategy fail. I mean, of course, there are some companies who go along without an IT strategy. They have a business strategy, they have a human resource strategy, but they don't really have an IT strategy. So, I mean, obviously, if you don't have one, it's not going to work right off the bat. But it's really a process of alignment, right? So if within the corporation or the company, there is no alignment between IT strategy and the business requirement, that's one problem. And if there's no alignment to the people, that's another problem. And then if there's no process alignment, there will be a huge problem. So lack of business alignment is the key one, because if we don't have the IT being able to support the business in whatever it wants to do, that's going to be a big issue. Let me share with you an example where previously there's a retail, in my experience, there's a retail outfit that they started a web store quite some time ago, but it was not their focus. They treated the web store or their marketplace, they had their own. They didn't sell on any other marketplace available, just their own web store. And what happened was they treated the web store just like any one of their other physical web stores. Their physical stores. So they were, given quotas and everything. It's very, very similar to other physical stores. And recently, just what happened was they had put down a lot of investment in a physical store, in a flagship store, and really not really focus on the web store. And then now we have this COVID situation, right? And lockdown, and physically people are just not being able to move around, or they're even afraid to go, even though it's safer nowadays. So then what happens is that investment that has been put into the physical store might have been better put into the web store, right? To be able to serve the customers better, especially during these times when physical visiting and all that, at least initially, it was very, very difficult. So that is where we don't see an alignment between the business requirement and, of course, the technology requirement. In fact, nobody could have foretold that we will end up in this lockdown situation. But then the signs have been there, especially for retail, for many years now, that online is growing, and that the physical, physical stores are transforming into another purpose, mainly for people to go and feel and see the items before they make the purchase, right? So again, that is the lack of understanding where the technology can actually help you transform or keep up with the pace, in fact, in this case, yeah? And not just that, maybe at the moment, just to not thrive, perhaps, but to survive. And then from there, when the new norm comes about, I foresee that people, especially in the consumer space, due to the experience they've had during the MCO handling technology, People who have never bought online were forced to buy online because they didn't want to go out. People who've never used things like Zoom or any other video conferencing to communicate, they suddenly were forced into it and got used to it. And maybe, it's a way of working now. And companies who are not ready to embrace this are going to have a problem, because then people will say, hey, I will continue buying from the people who can serve me best in those arenas like, online purchasing, where I have zero contact, and also where I can communicate with them without having to be physically with them, right? So those are the three major points. There's a lack of alignment between IT and the business, IT and the people, and IT and the process. You'll be surprised how many systems we have implemented. And of course, we do try our very best to get the system aligned to the process. Or in other words, when we implement a system, we hope that people will uptake the new processes given by the system, but then they continue in the old way, and therefore the system becomes a white elephant in due course. So there are ways around it, and I think we have deeper points into each of these bullets as we speak through.
We will explore just in a while, in a moment. But right now, we want to address some question here. So El Chan. So El Chan is asking a question here, and he says, if your computer system fails, your company data is breached, and customer finds out about it, are you liable? Are they liable to sue you for any losses? So that is, of course, one of the concern for businesses to go into the digital space because of this security risk, and probably if we want to have a really secured system, impenetrable, definitely there will be involved a lot of costs. So this could be one very relevant question here. So SL, what is your point of view?
Yeah, definitely. There have been legal actions. I believe there will be less impact of that in the Malaysian context. I'm not a lawyer, but I'm sure there are a lot of legal friends that we can talk to. But any data breach now, because we have the PDPA, definitely there will be some fines and things like that will come along to the companies who have a data breach. Now, how do you avoid that? In fact, in other countries like the UK, it's very, very serious. They could be, for a data breach, the companies could be sued millions of pounds, not by the people, the person, but by the government. They'll be fined because of a data breach has happened. So the important thing is, when we, as we said, do not rush into the market space, or do not rush into getting a solution that will help you just because of your dire need right now. But look at how security can be implemented in any sort of solution that you implement. Of course, when you talk about cloud-based solution, which means that you don't store the data in your own premises, not in your own office, but in a place that's on the internet. Actually, cloud is on the internet, right? So you will be storing it in what we call databases out in the cloud. Then when you have that sort of arrangement with a marketplace or a storage provider or a server provider out in that cloud space, you need to make sure that the security capability of that provider is there, so that you are protected against these sort of leaks and data breaches. And just to share with you, a lot of the cloud providers nowadays, they have certain certification for security. So if I were to go into it, I would look carefully and say, okay, guys, I'm interested in your service. I want to put my data on your cloud service. Can you share with me what are the certifications that you have in terms of data security? If they can show you more and, it's convincing, then of course it's much better.
The safest way is to go for a service provider that they have invest millions into making sure that the data are all protected, all right, and subscribe into their services. But before subscribing, find out if they have all those certification in place.
That's right.
Okay, so
that's
next question is from Buxton. He's just wondering if you know how many have failed and how many companies have been successfully implementing their IT strategy.
Wow, I think that will be quite difficult to ascertain. I think there are many companies who have tried and have failed in their IT strategy. Equally, there are many who have succeeded as well. So these not public domain knowledge, so it's a bit difficult to tell. But I would just say that if you don't align your business strategy, your people, and your process, you don't align the IT strategy to these three, definitely it is a higher chance of not having a success.
So the next question is from Sulin. Sulin is asking, for some business, going or going digital requires them to change the whole entire business model. What are some of the criteria that they should consider, especially if they need to adjust their business model?
Right. They should do their own readiness assessment. What I've done for previous companies I've worked for, as well as recently that I've done an IT strategy report for, is you need to do something like, for the HR professionals, you are quite used to things like training need analysis, the TNA, right? To work out the requirements and you work out the action plan. So the same thing is you need to do an IT needs analysis, a requirements analysis, and see where your current as is now. So I want to digitalize. I want to move towards being able to work online, sell online, whether it's business to consumer, B2C or B2B. But let's look at what you have currently. Is there enough technology that you have implemented? Are your servers in-house? Are your systems fully automated? Can they talk to outside systems, for example? And then do a gap analysis. So to be able to do online, okay, I need my back-end system to talk to this marketplace. I need to be able to push my inventory levels from here to there. I need to be able to record a sale. I need to be able to have my back-end system talk to a credit card payment gateway. Can it do all that or not? If it cannot, then you have a gap. So with that gap, what you should do is build to fill the gaps before you can launch into that new business model that you need. So that's an example of what we call aligning your IT strategy to your business. So now your business changed radically, right? So let's have a look at the IT. What are the things that you have and don't have to make you able to meet that new business requirement? That's how we would do it.
Right. So before we answer any more questions, I saw a lot of questions coming in. Very good. Thank you very much. If you're tuning in, I saw Hua Chai just commented, he's watching. Just comment down like Hua Chai, let us know that you're watching. Say hi to us, say hello. And if you've got any question, I saw that a lot of questions are coming in, but right now what we want to do is we want to move on first. And let's share with you a few key points that SL has prepared for you. And later we will come back. If we have time, we will answer as many questions as we can. So why IT strategy lack of business alignment? Yeah, so SL.
Okay, all right. Now, as you know, a lot of IT folks, they're very technical, and I'm trying to put it in very layman terms so that we don't scare away anyone from this session. So we're trying to put it as layman as possible. But a lot of IT folks, they're very, very techy, very technology focused. So in their minds, they think that, I need the latest this, latest that, the best this, the best that, so that is called the IT strategy. But actually, it is not. Because if you're spending into those best new technology doesn't help the business become more automated, become more efficient, become more agile, to use the word, then the investment is not really effective. I also found that in a lot of cases, a lot of IT managers, they don't have a good understanding of business operations, whether it's in manufacturing, logistics, or oil and gas. The attitude is, hey, I'm just here to run the computer system, right? But when you start looking into business systems rather than what we call infrastructure, the infrastructure will be the hardware side of things, like servers, networking, internet connection, all those things. Yes, that is the domain of the IT person. But equally, the business system that helps you deliver automation, efficiency, and all that, things like enterprise resource planning system, ERP system, sales system, inventory management system, freight management system, warehouse management systems, financial systems. All those sort of systems, you need some sort of understanding so that you can help the business make decisions like, do I need to implement this particular module of the system, or can I enhance it, or is it an overkill and let's not overspend on this? And the last point is that a lot of IT managers, even IT heads, they were not involved in the strategy formulation for the business. Not because they don't want to. I myself, in my experience, have always been very keen to do it. But some of my top management before, they're not very keen because they always say, actually, the business strategy, very P&C, confidential, cannot share with you. But then I spoke to my bosses and told them, look, if you don't share your business strategy with me, or at least if you don't want me to get involved and you just want to go ahead and do it, right? If you don't share it with me, I can't align the IT plan for the next 2 or 3 years to match what you need in the business strategy. So now I think with this situation we are in, with this rush for digitalization and the need for it, there's no question that the IT person, they may not be a manager, right? Of course, different companies have different levels. They have a CIO or the head of IT, or there's some, they call it MIS and things like that. You need to involve the IT person so that when the business people are talking about, hey, what's the next marketing strategy? What's the next sales strategy? How can the IT technology come and help? They will trigger some idea. Hey, you can start putting stuff on the marketplace. You can start putting things in LinkedIn.
I want to bring up what Catherine had mentioned here. She said very nicely, change management always come hand in hand with IT implementation to review or revamp existing processes to make it a success. So it not only involve only IT, but the entire organization's change management. And we are saying how to manage the change of business environment, and for tech strategy to cope and keep up. Business division may not come fast enough to invest in the latest tech, since the tech changed so fast. Yeah. So since we're on the topic of there's no alignment with the business strategy, perhaps what Mui Han is saying here is sometimes the business decision take longer time. By the time everything is decided and go on live, the tech scene already move on. Yeah, it become obsolete.
Yeah. So maybe I will talk about the previous point first. In a lot of enterprise resource planning or ERP projects, which involve end-to-end transformation of their organization, all the way from manufacturing, from sales to manufacturing to finance and supply chain. Yes, it is important to have a change management because it's a new way of working. And in my experience, probably the one thing that stands out is that projects that have change management component are more successful than those kind of projects that were done on a purely technical level. Okay, so yes, definitely the HR role is there to help people through the process. You might find, for example, you want to put a new system in place, but some of the people working on the ground may not have any computer skills at all to help with the change. So you need to think how to do it, whether you need to train them in core computer skills, like even basic clicking a mouse and all that. I've been in projects where people were like, they're supposed to be the storekeeper and use the inventory system. They don't even know how to click mouse. And they were afraid that when they click the mouse, they will explode the screen. So you have to think how to give them those skills so that they can cope with the change. Yeah. In terms of the second question by Mui Han, that's why when the business strategy is being formulated, that's when you need to involve the IT person as well. Because there could be business problems that need to be resolved or handled. And when you have worked out the strategy, then only you share with the IT person. It's a bit late already. So when you start the conversations about the strategy for the business, okay, we need to move into online. We need to be more remote. We must be able to work wherever we are. Then the IT person will say, okay, fine, let's move more things to the cloud so that wherever you are, you can access them. Let's get our systems upgraded so they can talk to marketplaces, so you can start selling properly online and having the backend systems talk properly to them, things like that. So don't wait. Right now is the time. Get IT people involved in all the business discussions.
Yeah, so right now we want to very quickly talk a little bit about the people strategy, misalignment of people strategy and IT, as well as after this we have one processes. So we just want to quickly run through this. And
absolutely. So you find that there's a lack of sponsorship from top management for IT initiatives, and that very often is because it's always looked at as a cost center. But now we should think about how we can use IT to improve efficiency. That's been long time very hard to prove the ROI of efficiency. But now we take a further step. How can you even gain market share? So, for example, among your competitors, those who are not able to work remotely, not able to reach out to the customers and convert orders online, for example, and it need not even be a marketplace. You could even offer, for example, customers who are already with you, you can come to my portal and I'll give you a ID and password that's only for you. You can go to my catalog and you can place orders there, right? So they need not be in a marketplace. It come direct to the, like a portal with a backend system integration. You can see the stock and your special price, everything. But to do that, you need some thinking and putting in place the building blocks to enable it. And of course, there's always resistance to adopt new technology. But like I say, with this 2 months, 3 months of activity now being remote, more people will be familiar with using the tools like online ordering and also using tools like conferencing, video conferencing, or chatting to be able to carry out their business processes and activities.
Yep. So these are the IT strategy, that are misaligned with the people. But how about the process alignment? How does that?
So one of the very difficult ones that I have experienced myself is, sometimes when you have a major project like this, like I mentioned, they make the IT department solely responsible for a major transformational project. It's not going to work. Why? Because the IT people, when they need help from the warehouse people, when they need help from the finance people, when they need help from the manufacturing people, right? These people, guess what? They don't report to IT. So if there's no top management sponsorship, say, for example, a project to digitalize, like what I mentioned just now, how do we get people to order online from us, our customers, and get the deliveries done and so on, change the way we're doing business now. The top management, the MD, the CEO, and all that must get together with all the required people, all the departments involved, and say, okay, IT is going to come in with a system that will help us do this. But I need you guys to work very closely and let them know which areas can be done, which areas cannot be done. I want us to work together as a team and make it happen. That is the only way that is going to work. And secondly, a lot of people, I think we had a topic about change in Take 5 at 5 as well. So change is very difficult for people, especially when they have been used to the system for so many years. And then they want to put a new system in, but then they say, hey, let's customize the system to the way we always do it. Instead of thinking about when we put a system in place and put a lot of investment, there's a lot of best practices already built into the system, like inventory control, warehouse control, financial control built in. But instead of using the system as is, they try to customize. That's when it becomes very costly. And guess what? You are just replicating your old broken process in a new system. So then you are not going to reap the benefits of your investment. Okay. And then the last one is quite... Say again?
It defeats the purpose to have the system in the first place.
Correct. Yeah. And the last one, very interesting one, is because there are a lot of systems in the cloud now, as well as, people can just sign up and do it. So there are a lot of systems that you find were run by the user department without IT department participation. The disadvantage of that is, I'll give you a very simple example. Say a company wants to set up a Facebook page or a LinkedIn page, and then they didn't get any advice from IT department, the marketing department, or the HR department, just do it on their own. And then when the staff leave, nobody can recover the password. So nobody can revive their company's LinkedIn page or their Facebook page, and they have to request for LinkedIn or Facebook to, return the ID to them. But if as simple as just talking to the IT people, hey, what can we do here? Yeah, okay, fine. You can run the page. IT will not disturb you. But why don't we create a common ID? Let's say hr@abc.com for your LinkedIn, so that when this person leaves, next day, I just reset the password for this email account and you can recover it. Simple as that. That's very simple alignment if you can catch it.
Right. So, ladies and gentlemen, there you have it. Here are some key pointers. If you would like to move your business to the digital arena, you want to digitalize your business, here are some of the red flags or areas that you can pay attention to. So SL, before you leave, because we already at the end of our show, we exceed the time limit. What is one key message for our audience here? If let's say you want to give them one key points for them to take away from today's session. Yes.
The key point will be that for the business, please involve the IT people early on in your business strategy planning. And those IT folks who might be tuning in to this show, try and put on the hat of the business as well, not just from a pure technology point. So by having a meeting in the middle, to say that here's a good situation where we know what the business needs, we know what technology might or might not work. Let's have that conversation. Let's have that planning together so that we can make it happen and drive the business forward in terms of what they need to become digitalized.
Okay, so thank you very much, SL, for joining Take 5 at 5 today. I'm sure the audience will have taken a lot of pointers from your sharing today. Thank you very much again for joining our show. And for those of you who are watching at home, thank you very much for tuning in, and hope you get some good pointers here, especially when you want to go digital. And pay attention, remember not to rush into it. And if you are in a larger enterprise, make sure that you communicate with each other. Because definitely IT is not something that is standalone. It definitely have to lean against the business strategy, people strategy, as well as the process strategy. Okay, so once again, thank you very much, SL, for joining us in the session. And if you want to contact SL, here. All right. So if let's say you have any questions, in your business right now, you're facing some challenges, you want to ask him more, you want him to elaborate or share with you some quick tips, you can actually email him at sulimc@outlook.com. Yeah. So with that, we'd like to say thank you very much for joining us. My name is Jack. I'm your host today at Take 5 at 5. Thank you for watching.